Hey there everyone, it's Chris Mack. In today's episode of Chris's Kit, I want to talk about on-body medical EDC. My kit that I carry and why I carry the things that I do, along with a little bit of tourniquet talk as well. Let's start off with my kit, and let's start off with the thing that's probably going to aggravate half the people watching this, is that I on-body carry a RATS tourniquet. And here's why. So I'm not bashing other tourniquets, I'm just saying this is why I do what I do. Let me grab my kit out of my pocket here. Here is a cat tourniquet. Here is my on-body medical kit. Enough said. Kit for the footprint, kit versus just a tourniquet. I like the cat tourniquet. I'm not bashing the cat tourniquet. I had that one is the one out of my range bag. I have them in my truck. I have them other places. I'm talking about on-body carry, and here's why I choose the RATS. So here's my kit. Let's go ahead and open this kit up with what we got here. We've got in this big pocket, I've got the RATS tourniquet. I've got some combat gauze. And in this little pocket up here, I have some good old-fashioned basic Band-Aids, a compact CPR mask, a little bit of Celox, and a pair of gloves. Now, why do I carry that, and why do I feel it's important to have a kit versus just a tourniquet? Well, you'll see videos of some of the tactical folks out there, and they will be all up in arms of, at the very least for medical, you need to be carrying a tourniquet. At the very least, just a tourniquet. My wife and I were discussing the fact that we're both in school, again, advancing our degrees, but we were discussing the fact that next month I'll have been in healthcare for 20 years. And how many times have I had to use a tourniquet while on the clock? A good bit. I did EMS for 10 years. So yeah, I'm very familiar with tourniquets. However, how many times off the clock have I ever used a tourniquet? Zip. How many, just like my everyday carry firearm, how many times have I gone to the range and blown through hundreds of rounds? A lot. How many times have I ever had to draw my weapon in an active shooter scenario in real life? Zip. So that doesn't mean you shouldn't train for what could happen. What I'm trying to say is that you need to have gear that is more practical towards what you're actually going to use. Hence I'm not getting into the fight of which tourniquet's better, RATS or cat. Not doing that. What I am saying is for on-body carry, the RATS tourniquet makes more sense for me. Keeping with the comment of, well, at the very least you need a tourniquet, I'm not on that bandwagon. I'm of the opinion that at the very least you should have some gloves. Why? These are cheap. These are easy. These do not take a learning curve or anything like that. They're gloves. You put them on. You keep away from touching body fluids. And here's why. Again, on the clock versus off the clock. On the clock, yeah, I've run codes, I've done CPR, I've dealt with stroke patients, I've done used tourniquets, I've wrapped people in Stokes baskets and had them picked up by choppers in search and rescue. These are all things that I've done on the clock. Off the clock, CPR, stroke, minor boo-boos and cuts, yeah, those kind of things. These are the things that you're most likely going to encounter. And because of that, the reason why I say gloves and also a face mask, why these are important, is because one of the HIV is no longer the bigger killer. Hep C is the big one that's taking folks out now. And I wouldn't say it's an epidemic, but it's definitely something to be concerned about. And if you're, depending on where you live or anything like that, look at the patient population that's around you and what they're most likely to have. So I'm going to link down below so that way the experts can explain all the ins and outs of Hep C, because I'm not a PhD to explain disease process, but the video is going to be what is hepatitis C and why care. It's a short little 4-minute video. I think you should watch it, and after watching that, even if you are the I should carry a tourniquet person, I'll bet you throw some gloves in your pocket the next time around too. All right, just throwing that out there. Now let's talk about why I like the RATS tourniquet for on-body carry. Well, again, the footprint size. I have an entire kit versus just a tourniquet. The rat's tourniquet, I'm going to go ahead and quote some other folks here. I'm going to go ahead and link from Dr. Mike Simpson. He is a combat vet. He was a medic as well. He is now a physician. He runs Mind of the Warrior podcast. The podcast I'm going to be linking down below is about tourniquets, and he gets into the rats specifically at about minute 25, but the whole thing is a good listen. And he talks about how a lot of people in Canine Corps like this product because it's small enough to get around the small limbs of a canine. I have dogs. I like that. He also goes on to say, now just as a disclaimer here for Mike, he refused to get on the bandwagon of I'm pro or I'm against. He gave a very matter-of-fact pro and con list to it. So, but one thing that he said with that is like you see video where people have put a cat's tourniquet on a baby and on smaller adults. From my experience, can you do it? Is it easy? Not as easy as this. So yeah, there's function over form. I'm a fan of the rats for the fact of smaller adults and kids and canines. So because, well, I don't have kids yet, I do have canines, and my wife is about 100 pounds soaking wet. So small adult and dogs. Another thing, kind of a takeaway home point that Mike had said towards the end of his talk about the rat's tourniquet is that he said it is a working tourniquet that requires a learning curve. Okay, and I agree. It's not something with a windlass. He kind of brings up the example of I could hand Grandma a cat tourniquet. I think she could figure out how to use it. Hand Grandma a rat's tourniquet. That might not work out. So know your gear, know what you're using, and train with it. Enough said on that. Gotta love it whenever you use your phone to do your videos and somebody calls in the middle of your video. Anyway, so one thing that everyone who hates the rat's tourniquet is always willing to jump on the bandwagon of and start beating the war drum of is that it's not TCCC certified. Okay, here's one I want to give you on that one. Carry Trainer, they are a great YouTube channel. I really like them. They run S12 if you're familiar with them. They do during S12 they do a TCCC medical course. And down below in the description, I'm going to link to this video at minute 650. The gentleman who is running that course and is talking about tourniquets, he is a combat vet and combat medic himself. He talks about how, well, when we went to war, we were intellectual individuals who'd been trained for this stuff, and we went to war without tourniquets. What we had were cravats and dowel rod, and they worked just fine. Now, I'm not saying that you should carry a cravat and dowel rod. What I'm saying is the fact that I don't think TCCC would certify a piece of dowel rod attached to a cravat. Just saying. But just because something isn't TCCC certified doesn't mean that it's not functional. Doesn't mean that it doesn't do its job well. Okay? So that whole, if it's not TCCC certified, yeah, and like I learned the cravat and a pen way of doing a tourniquet in the Scouts as a kid. And guess what? Again, functional. Never TCCC certified though. I think a lot of people, do I think TCCC is a good thing? Yes. Do I think that it's important to put something through process to be certified and all that stuff? Yeah. But do I think that just because something isn't, that it's not right or shouldn't be used? No. Why? That's my on-body EDC medical kit. I'm going to have links below to Mike's podcast, to the Carry Trainer video. Please check out that Hep C video that's down below. And again, I'm also going to have a link to Rat's Tourniquet down below. Now, one more thing about Rat's Tourniquet as a complete disclaimer. I am not sponsored by them. I'm not getting paid by them. Yeah, no. So, and by putting a link down there for you to go check out Rat's Tourniquet, I don't make money off of that either. I'm not getting anything out of this. I've carried a Rat's Tourniquet for almost 5 years now. The only thing that Rats and I have in common at this particular moment in time is that as I was building this channel up, I did reach out to them a few weeks ago and said, hey, I've got a YouTube channel. I'm doing some giveaways. Do you want to get involved in that? They did send me some Rat's Tourniquets for giveaways. But that's it. So I'm not making anything off that. They gave me rat tourniquets to give to you guys. There you go. So disclaimer, I'm not tied to the company at all. I like their product. I've been carrying it for several years and I will continue to do so. All right. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And as always, it's Chris Mack.